Hey everyone, welcome to an expedition unlike any you've ever seen. Our compass points to the future, our map is the web of life, and our final destination is the preservation of our planet. Get ready, because we are going to unravel the mysteries of climate change, a story that is unfolding at this very moment and demands our attention. Picture the Arctic, a realm of ice and snow, home to incredible creatures like the polar bear. It walks on thin ice, a platform that shrinks with each passing day, a harbinger of the uncertain future that awaits. This image, my friends, is a powerful symbol of what is happening to Earth. Our planet is running a fever, and the symptoms are becoming more intense and frequent. Extreme heat waves, devastating storms, glaciers melting at an alarming rate, and rising sea levels threatening coastal cities. How did we get here? The answer, my friends, lies in human history. Starting with the Industrial Revolution, driven by a desire for progress and development, we began burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, on an unprecedented scale. Imagine giant chimneys spewing black smoke into the atmosphere, factories operating day and night, cities growing at an accelerated pace, illuminated by the energy generated by these powerful but polluting sources. This energy, essential to our way of life, comes at a high price: the release of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The main villain in our story, carbon dioxide, or CO2. It acts like the glass in a greenhouse, allowing sunlight in but preventing heat from escaping. The result? The planet heats up like a pot on a stove. But CO2 doesn't act alone. Other gases, such as methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases, also contribute to the greenhouse effect, aggravating Earth's fever. Where do these gases come from? Burning fossil fuels is the main source of CO2 in the atmosphere. But deforestation, livestock, agriculture, and the decomposition of organic matter also release greenhouse gases, fueling the vicious cycle of global warming. The consequences, as we have seen, are alarming. Rising global temperatures are melting glaciers and ice caps, raising sea levels and threatening coastal populations. Extreme weather events, such as droughts, floods, storms, and heat waves, are becoming more frequent and intense, causing material damage, loss of life, and ecological imbalances. Agriculture, the source of food for billions of people, is directly impacted by climate change, putting global food security at risk. But climate change is not limited to the environment. It affects us all, impacting the health, economy, security, and well-being of populations, especially the poorest and most vulnerable. Faced with this challenging scenario, it is easy to feel powerless, as if the struggle were too great for us. But we cannot give up hope. The story is still being written, and we have the power to change the course of events. It is time to act, and action begins with understanding the gravity of the situation, the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and create a more sustainable future for all. The good news is that there are already numerous solutions to combat climate change. Renewable energies such as solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal are becoming increasingly accessible and efficient, representing a clean and sustainable alternative to fossil fuels. Energy efficiency, both in industry and in homes, is fundamental to reducing energy consumption and, consequently, greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation, one of the sectors that emits the most CO2, needs to undergo a true green revolution with the mass adoption of electric, hybrid, and biofuel vehicles, in addition to encouraging efficient public transport and active mobility, such as cycling. Sustainable agriculture, based on agroecological practices, is fundamental to reducing the environmental impact of food production, conserving natural resources, and guaranteeing food security. Forests, the true lungs of the planet, play a crucial role in absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. Protecting existing forests and restoring degraded areas is essential to combating climate change. But individual change, however important it may be, is not enough. Governments, companies, and civil society need to come together in a joint effort to build a more sustainable future. Effective public policies to encourage renewable energy, energy efficiency, sustainable transport, and low-carbon agriculture are fundamental to driving the transition to a low-carbon economy. Companies have a crucial role to play in adopting more sustainable practices in their production chains. reducing their carbon footprint and developing innovative technologies and solutions to combat climate change. And each of us, as citizens, has the power to demand more sustainable attitudes from our leaders, to consume more consciously, to reduce our carbon footprint, and to inspire the people around us to do the same. The fight against climate change is, without a doubt, the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced. But it is also our greatest opportunity to build a more just, equitable, and sustainable future for all. Remember, the Earth is the only home we have. It is up to each of us to take the lead in this story, to fight for a better future, and to ensure that future generations inherit a healthy and vibrant planet. So far, we've uncovered the engine behind our planet's fever, the increase in greenhouse gases. But climate change is like a complex puzzle, with interconnected pieces that trigger a series of impacts on a global scale. Get ready, as we're about to explore the different faces of this crisis and discover how we can turn the tide. Let's start with the polar regions, the planet's most sensitive thermometers. The Arctic, home to polar bears and unique ecosystems, is warming twice as fast as the global average. Sea ice, a vital platform for marine life and climate balance, is shrinking every year, a worrying sign that echoes across the planet. Imagine a gigantic iceberg, once imposing, breaking off from Greenland and transforming into millions of liters of freshwater that mix with the ocean. This process, which seems to happen far from us, contributes to rising sea levels, threatening coastal cities, entire islands, and millions of people around the world. Cities like Venice, Jakarta, Miami, Shanghai, and Rio de Janeiro, vibrant places full of history, face an uncertain future. The invasion of saltwater contaminates freshwater sources, floods coastal areas, erodes beaches, and puts cultural heritage and the lives of millions at risk. But climate change is not just about rising sea levels. Extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones, are becoming more intense and frequent, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Imagine raging winds, torrential rains, and giant waves invading coastal cities, uprooting trees, destroying homes, and leaving behind a scene of chaos and desolation. These scenes, once confined to disaster movies, are becoming increasingly frequent in real life. And the consequences are not limited to material damage. Loss of life, mass displacement, humanitarian crises, and increased social inequalities are just some of the devastating impacts of these extreme events. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, extreme drought plagues entire populations. Previously fertile soils are transformed into arid land. Entire plantations are lost, and hunger and water scarcity become a harsh reality. Water insecurity is one of the greatest challenges posed by climate change. The availability of drinking water is decreasing, while demand is increasing with population growth and the intensification of agriculture. Conflicts over natural resources are becoming more frequent, escalating geopolitical tensions and generating social instability. Ecosystems, fundamental pieces for the balance of the planet, also suffer from climate change. Biodiversity is severely affected, with the extinction of species, habitat loss, and the imbalance of entire ecosystems. Coral reefs, considered underwater gardens due to their richness and biodiversity, suffer from bleaching, a process caused by rising water temperatures that can lead to the death of these ecosystems. Forests, the true lungs of the planet, face an increased risk of forest fires due to drought and extreme heat. Imagine the Amazon, the largest rainforest in the world, being devastated by fires that release tons of CO2 into the atmosphere that it once helped capture, further aggravating the cycle of global warming. Human health is also directly impacted by climate change. Rising temperatures aggravate respiratory problems, increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, and contribute to the proliferation of disease vectors such as mosquitoes that transmit dengue, Zika, and chikungunya. Faced with so many challenges, it's easy to feel paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. But believe me, there is still time to act. The story of climate change is still being written, and we have the power to change the course of this narrative. Transformation begins with awareness of the gravity of the situation and the urgent need to build a more sustainable future. And this change, my friends, depends on each and every one of us. We can rethink our consumption habits, choosing durable products with less environmental impact, prioritizing companies that adopt sustainable practices, reducing meat consumption, avoiding food waste, saving water and energy, opting for more sustainable means of transport, such as bicycles, public transport, and electric cars, are simple actions, but they make all the difference when adopted by millions of people. But individual action, however important, is not enough. It is necessary to pressure governments and companies to adopt more effective measures to combat climate change. The transition to a low-carbon economy requires investment in renewable energy, energy efficiency, sustainable transport, low-carbon agriculture, and forest conservation. International agreements, such as the Paris Agreement, are fundamental for uniting countries around a common goal: to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Climate justice is another crucial point. The richest countries, which have contributed the most to climate change, have a duty to help developing countries adapt to the impacts of climate change and transition to a low-carbon economy. Environmental education and public awareness are essential to empower citizens to demand more sustainable attitudes from their leaders and to adopt more responsible habits in their daily lives. The fight against climate change is not an option, but a necessity. It is a fight for the preservation of life, for social justice, and for guaranteeing a habitable future for future generations. And, believe me, this is a fight we can win. Together, we are stronger than inertia, greed, and selfishness. Together, we can transform fear into action, apathy into hope, challenge into opportunity. Remember, the history of humanity is made of choices, and the choice we make today will determine the future of our planet. Let's choose a sustainable, fair, and vibrant future. Our journey has revealed the dangers of inaction, but also the power of human action when directed towards a common good. Now, more than ever, is the time to reaffirm our commitment to the planet and chart a new course for humanity. The sustainable future we strive for is not a distant utopia, but rather a mosaic built by countless actions, large and small, that complement and reinforce each other. Imagine a world where the energy that lights our homes and powers our cities comes from the sun, wind, water, and the earth's heat. A world where electric cars glide silently through the streets, powered by renewable sources, and public transport connects people and places efficiently and sustainably. Imagine greener cities with green areas interconnected by bike paths and streets where pedestrians have priority. Sustainable buildings with green roofs and rainwater harvesting systems integrate into the urban landscape, creating pleasant microclimates and reducing environmental impact. In rural areas, regenerative agriculture gains ground, restoring soil health, sequestering carbon from the atmosphere, and producing nutritious food in harmony with nature. Agroforestry is expanding, combining ancestral knowledge with modern techniques, creating more resilient and diversified production systems. The bioeconomy is gaining momentum, with the use of renewable resources for the production of biofuels, biomaterials, and bioproducts, driving a new era of innovation and green job creation. The circular economy is consolidating itself as a new model of production and consumption, where waste is transformed into inputs, reducing waste and preserving natural resources. Reuse, recycling, and composting are becoming common practices, creating a virtuous cycle of production and consumption. Ocean conservation is becoming a global priority. Marine protected areas are expanding, overfishing is being fought, and investments in research and technology are seeking solutions to ocean acidification and plastic pollution. Environmental education is becoming an essential part of the education of children and young people, raising awareness of the importance of preserving the planet and training more aware and engaged citizens. Citizen participation is strengthened, with social movements and civil society organizations pressing for more ambitious public policies to combat climate change and build a more just and sustainable future. Science continues to advance, seeking increasingly effective and innovative solutions to the challenges posed by climate change. Carbon capture and storage technologies, next-generation renewable energy, and bioengineering offer a range of possibilities to mitigate the effects of the climate crisis. But above all, what will really make a difference in this journey is a change in mindset, an understanding that we are an integral part of nature and that we depend on its preservation for our own survival. We must abandon the anthropocentric view that places the human being as the center of the universe and adopt a more holistic view, which recognizes the interdependence between all living beings and the importance of living in harmony with the planet. The climate crisis is a call to action, an invitation to rethink our values, our priorities, and our role in the world. It is a unique opportunity to build a more just, equitable, and sustainable society, where everyone has the chance to live with dignity and in harmony with nature. The future is not yet written. It is up to each of us to decide what role we want to play in this story. We can choose to be part of the solution or part of the problem. The choice is ours. So what will your legacy be?